Her tragic death at a concert venue in Orlando nearly a week ago was lost in the barrage of other violent headlines. Christina Grimmie, the rising young voice star, gunned down at a performance.
It should have been better because there was barely any back check. The only thing they were looking for is for food and drinks.
They weren't looking for weapons.
I don't think that anybody's goal in life should be to get famous.
The young woman you're watching on the screen right now, she was a rising star with a voice that could break your heart and stitch it back together just in a single song. This young girl had a loyal fan base who didn't just watch her. They loved her like a sister, like a friend, and a dreamer just like them. It was supposed to be another magical night, a houseful show, and a smiling crowd. And at last, a simple meet and greet to thank the people who made her feel unstoppable. But in one small corner of an Orlando concert hall, under the cheap fluorescent light with a last note still hanging in the air, a young woman's life ended with a point blank range. A hug turned into horror, a gun fired straight into her heart, and the voice that just electrified the room fell silent forever. So, what happened to Christiana? Today, we unmask the tragic murder of Christiana, which is a story of fame, obsession, and the question that still haunts her fans: could she have been saved? Before all the headlines and before the tragedy, there was just this little girl with a big dreams. Christiana was born in Malton, New Jersey, to Albert and Tina Grimmie, and she was Marcus' little sister, who later ended up being her biggest protector. Brothers always protect their sisters, right? And Christiana didn't come from a fancy Hollywood family. She grew up in a regular suburban house, family dinners, church on Sunday, and a piano in a living room. Same middle class family Christiana came from. Music wasn't just a noise in her home, it was everything. Her mom played piano, her dad always pushed her to sing, and by the time she was 5, she was already belting out Disney songs for anyone who would listen to her. While other kids at Chicory High School were worried about the exam dates, Christiana was sitting cross-legged on a bedroom floor with a cheap mic and an old laptop, recording raw covers for her favorite songs. Christiana did not have any studio, nor a fancy edits. It was just her. But that voice, it just didn't hit your ears. It got under your skin, made you feel something, even if you did not know her. In music industry, people will definitely find you, sooner or later. Same happened with Christiana. First a few hundred, then thousands, then millions. By the year 2014, she stepped onto the voice stage, but she wasn't something overnight viral kid. She was a self-made star. She had a voice that could crack your heart open and piece it back together in a single note. She didn't just win the voice. She has won something bigger, and that was the loyalty from her fans. Her fans who weren't just her followers, they felt like the family. And this young lady, she gave them all of her. She was absolutely simple, no tinted SUV, no bodyguard at arm's length. After every show, she would stay till the last fan got their moment. She used to hug them, take selfies, whatever they needed. But what Christiana forgot was, when you open your heart that wide, sometimes the darkness slips in too. While Christiana was a rising star, and about 170 miles away in a small and a dim bedroom, someone was watching her more closely than anyone ever could have. and his name was Kevin James, who was 27 years old. A total loner, he lived in St. Petersburg, Florida with his dad and his brother. If you passed him on the street, you would never look twice. He's just another quiet guy with his headphones in and glued to his phone. But in Kevin's mind, Christiana wasn't just some singer on YouTube. To him, she was the one. Kevin did not have many friends, no girlfriend. He barely left his house. His co workers at Best Buy, where he used to fix computers, said he was very polite, but he always distanced himself. He was always busy with his phone, eyes locked at her video. And slowly, that harmless fandom twisted into something darker. He stopped calling Christiana a singer. He started calling her my soulmate. He used to tell people at work he would meet her one day and they would be together forever. They all laughed it off, thinking just weird Kevin, right? But it wasn't just a talk. He actually started changing himself for his fantasy that only existed in his own head. For Christiana, he has done his ear transplant and switched to a vegan diet. He has lost weight too, all to be good enough for a pop star he had never ever spoken, not even once. One of his friends even joked, what if she was not interested? Kevin just stared and said, if I can't have her, nobody can. But nobody took him seriously. No one called the cops, no restraining orders, nothing. Just a lonely man building up a story in his head, a story that only had two endings, either love or destruction. And by the time Christiana's next tour came around, Kevin knew exactly how his story would end. On June 10th, 2016, at the Plaza Live in Orlando, Florida, in a cozy little venue, which was nothing fancy and nothing huge, just the kind of place where the real music feels close enough to touch. Christiana was on tour, opening for the band Before You Exist. It was a perfect summer gig with a small crowd, tight community, and a loyal fans lining up for her hugs after the show. Christiana's mom was there, and a big brother Marcus too. He was always her shadow, always her protector. According to the New York Times, the whole night was warm and upbeat. Not a single hint that something was about to go totally wrong. Fans were posting selfies, tagging Team Grimmie, holding signed copies, big smiles all around. But here's the thing, there were no metal detectors, no bag checks. The Plaza Live did not bother with tight security for the shows like this, which are small and safe. In that crowd, there was Kevin sweating under a hoodie in Florida heat. Under that hoodie, he hid two handguns with extra magazines and a hunting knife strapped to his ankle. According to the Orlando police, Kevin drove about 174 miles from St. Petersburg. He even booked a hotel room close by, but no return ticket and no plan to go home. After the final encore, Christiana did what she always did. She stepped off stage with full energy, sweat, and pure gratitude, ready to meet every fan in line. There were no barricades, no bodyguards in the way, just her, a folding table, and the people who adored her. When it was Kevin's turn, he did not say a word. He just walked up. Christiana saw him, and like she did with every fan, she opened her arms wide. That hug was her thing. The moment everyone felt seen. But this time, the hug has turned to horror. Kevin pulled the gun from under his hoodie. He raised it, point blank, and then three shots. The fans screamed. People scattered. Marcus didn't think twice. He lunged straight at Kevin, tackled him to ground. But in that struggle, Kevin managed to fire one last shot. Not at Marcus, but at himself. The Rolling Stone reported it was over in less than a minute. Just like that, Christiana was lying there on the concrete, her brother holding her, the final echo of a last song still floating in the tiny venue. A hug turned to horror, a dream turned into a crime scene. Chaos doesn't knock, it kicks the door in. The second Kevin pulled that gun, the entire room froze. Christiana never stood a chance. She was just inches away, arms still open, probably still smiling. The first shot hit her, then another, and then the third, all at a point blank range. Her brother Marcus heard the crack of the gunfire, and in that split second, instinct took over. Marcus just feet away. He did not run. He lunged straight at Kevin. He slammed into him with everything he had, knocking him to the ground. People were screaming, diving behind the tables, crawling for the exit. Security scrambled, but it was too late. In that struggle, Kevin has wrestled his gun free again, but instead of aiming at Marcus, he turned the barrel on himself. One last shot, one final echo in a tiny venue that had been a safe place just moments before. It was all over in seconds. Christiana lay bleeding on the concrete floor. The voice that once silenced the crowd now has been silenced forever. Marcus held her, calling her name, hoping for a miracle. But sometimes, hope is just an echo in an empty room. In the aftermath, police would find no goodbye note, no manifesto, nothing. Nothing that could answer why. No family ever got closure. No fan ever got explanation that made any sense. In that single minute, the stage has turned to a crime scene, a hero brother, a lost sister, and a question that still hangs heavy for every artist who ever opened their arms to a stranger in the crowd. In the hours after Christiana's murder, the shock has turned into headlines. Her fans flooded to Twitter and YouTube with tributes, the covers of her songs, messages to her family, endless comment sections filled with heartbreak and disbelief. The Orlando Sentinel reported that local police found no note, no manifesto, no online warning. Kevin family claimed they had no idea, but they knew he had been obsessed with Christina for months. You know what was the real gut punch? There were no metal detectors at the Plaza Live that night, no back checks, no pat down. According to the Rolling Stone, small shows like Christiana didn't get that kind of security. The very thing that made her accessible, her open armed kindness, left her wide open to danger. Marcus, the brother who tackled Kevin, was hailed as hero. He probably saved other lives that night, but he couldn't save his sister, and that guilt would haunt him for years. But Christiana's family wasn't done fighting. They filed a lawsuit against the Plaza Live and the security company that worked at the venue that evening, arguing that better screening could have stopped the killer from walking in armed to the thief. ABC News confirmed the suit dragged on for years, but no amount of court settlements could bring Christiana back. In the wake of her death, artists across the country changed how they did meet and greets. Barriers went up, back checks became normal. But for Christiana's family, it was way too late. What they wanted was not more police tape. They wanted a legacy that would protect the next Christina before the headlines ever hit. Kevin didn't just want to take Christina's life, he wanted to erase himself as well. There was no manifesto, no long goodbyes, just a final twisted choice. If I can't have her, no one can ever could. And I won't face what comes after, was Kevin's policy. According to Orlando police, Kevin likely planned the suicide all along. He drove 174 miles with 2 handguns, extra ammunition, and a hunting knife, but not a single plan to get away. For him, The obsession ended the only way it ever could, in a single selfish act that left Christiana family with no answers, just an empty chair at a dinner table and echo where her voice used to be. But tragedy wasn't the end of Christiana's story. A family turned their grief into a purpose. They launched the Christina Grimmie Foundation, fighting to protect other families affected by gun violence and offering support for young artists. They speak out for the better venue security. They remind the industry that openness can't mean vulnerability. And today, meet and greet security is tighter than ever. There are more bag checks, metal detectors, armed guards. Some fans hate distance, but for the Grimmies, every barrier is one more layer between an artist and the next Kevin. One more chance to protect a dream before it's cut short. And for Christina's millions of fans, a legacy lives on. In the songs she left behind, the cover people still sing. The memories of a girl who opened her arms to everyone she met. And maybe that's the haunting lesson. Sometimes the most open hearts shine the brightest, and sometimes that light draws into the darkest shadow. And also remember Christina not for how she died, but for how she lived and how her voice still echoes long after the final note fades. And that's it for today. I am Sai from SPK Reports. We unmask crime and one story at a time.